This video has been funded in part by the Guild via Patreon. Check out the links in the description or at the end of this video for more details. Hello everybody, my name is Gildart, and welcome back to another Musou May pros vs cons review. I know a lot of you have been waiting years for this theme, and I am just as excited to jump into it with all of you. Now, I'm not super familiar with One Piece. I have watched the anime, but I haven't made it to any episodes that are made in widescreen, so that should put it into perspective. I think I made it to the point where Vivi got introduced, and I did buy the first volume of the manga to try to catch up that way, though I don't know if I'll ever catch up at this point. One Piece is such a gigantic undertaking if you choose to dive into it. Not only does the anime have over 1,000 episodes and over a dozen movies, there's also a boatload of games, merchandise, and much more to consume. So when Koei Tecmo got the rights to make a Musou game based on this multimedia behemoth, I was so excited to have an easy avenue to get into the franchise. This will continue the trend of me not knowing much about a Musou spin-off until I've actually played the game. For those of you that don't know anything about One Piece, it started as a manga created by Eiichiro Oda in Shonen Jump back in 1997. There are literally over 100 volumes of this manga, and the series is still going to this day, even though Oda has said that he is working on the final arc as of the writing of this script. The story follows Luffy, a young man who searches for a great treasure called the One Piece, which will help him become the king of pirates. He ate a devil fruit which gives him the power to stretch his body and limbs. Unfortunately, anybody who eats a devil fruit will gain superpowers at the cost of the ability to swim, which does make it even harder to live in this world considering how much water covers it. Plus, wanting to be a pirate, you will literally be going down with the ship if it gets to that point. Throughout the story, Luffy makes friends and enemies who come and go throughout. Honestly, I haven't experienced all of One Piece, but from what I have, I can tell why it's been going on for so long. The One Piece Pirate Warrior series was an incredibly successful venture for both One Piece and Warriors, becoming one of the best-selling One Piece video game series. The first entry launched exclusively for PS3 on March 1st, 2013 for Japan, September 25th for North America, and September 21st for Europe. This would be one of the only non-handheld or gimmicky Warriors titles to be exclusively released on a single console in all regions. The only others would be Dynasty Warriors 2, Dynasty Warriors 7 Empires, Sengoku Musou 3 Empires, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, and Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes. I am super excited to jump into the first Pirate Warriors. Though I have finished the story, I haven't really played much else, so I don't really know what to expect. But before we go too far, don't forget to give this video a like, comment with your thoughts below, and of course subscribe if you haven't already. Alright, it's time to find out what the Pirate Warriors games do for the One Piece and Musou franchises with the first Pro. Starting things off strong, we'll jump into the mode that I've already spent the most amount of time with. This will also be the mode that most players will jump into first. The story. Like I said, I haven't really experienced much of One Piece's story outside of these games, but what's here in the first Pirate Warriors is truly great. The story follows that of the anime fairly faithfully and even provides a few extra bits to spice things up for longtime fans. There's a wide variety of cutscenes that take memorable moments from the anime and recreates them in the in-game engine. It was actually really cool to play through the episodes I had actually watched, seeing all the characters rendered in 3D. Playing more of this mode now makes me want to go back and watch more of the anime. I mean, I didn't even make it to where Crocodile gets introduced. This is why I bought the first volume of the manga. I don't know which way will end up being my preferred method of catching up, but thanks to this year's Musou May, I think I'm finally going to dive back into it. The story mode isn't just your straightforward Warriors affair either. You'll have lots of opportunities to jump out of the Warriors formula of button mashing combat to experience a variety of puzzles, QTE cutscenes, and stage exploration. This feels like an evolution of what we got with Fist of the North Star Ken's Rage. In that game we had similar brawls between stage exploration. What we get in One Piece Pirate Warriors adds environmental pieces you can interact with to get to the various parts of the stage. Sometimes you might have a simple puzzle to deal with before you move on. Most of these aren't real brain teasers or anything, but they break up the flow in a way that feels natural. It almost feels like an action-adventure game built off of the Warriors combat system, and for that the story mode really stands out among the Musou crowd. You're also also going to have Dynasty Warriors 7 inspired character changes throughout the story. You may start a stage with some action-adventure exploration using Luffy's stretchy arms to go from point A to point B, then you'll have a cutscene where Zoro takes over. Since the other characters don't have the same abilities as Luffy, their sections are closer to the regular Musou formula. This great mix of gameplay styles will help anyone enjoy playing through the story of One Piece Pirate Warriors, whether you're a fan of the source material or not.
Con!
Hello, thank you. Take a seat. Test results have come in. I'm sorry to say this, but you are suffering from an acute case of protagonitis. Yes, One Piece Pirate Warriors suffers from a hard case of no playable bad guys. Now, this isn't a bad thing initially. We saw this with the original Hyrule Warriors where they added Sia, Volga, and Wizro in a free DLC patch. But we still had Ganondorf, Zant, and Girahim before that. The big thing is that they never added any character DLC to this game, free or paid for. You can tell that the characters you don't play as have their own movesets. So why would you exclude them? This game only has 13 playable characters, all of which are the protagonists of the story. You never get to control any of the bad guys. One mechanic of this game is the ability to pair with other allied characters. If you complete the combo designated to that character and hit an enemy with the last move, you'll be able to switch to that character and perform a single combo string. If you do this enough times, they'll use their Musou attack before switching back to the player character. This is a neat idea and a great way to try a bunch of characters out while you're playing through the story, but the big issue here is that you can only pair with other playable characters. There is a stage where Luffy is in jail along with a handful of bad guys he beat up along the way. This would have been a great opportunity to add Buggy or Crocodile to the roster. Hell, you could have saved them for a free DLC pack similar to what was done with Hyrule Warriors, but allowed them to be playable by pairing in the base game. I honestly don't understand the decision to keep the roster only to those heroes that appear in the story. It feels so limiting when going back to this game after playing any afterward.
Bro,
I mentioned it in my video on what I would do if I had full creative control for Dynasty Warriors 10 that I really enjoyed the combat of the Pirate Warriors series, so I think it deserves its own pro. The basic controls are all there. Square is your normal attack, triangle is your charge attack, circle is Musou, X is a sidestep or dodge. When we get into the shoulder buttons, that's where things really start to look different. L1 no longer guards. In fact, there is no guard in this game. It does still reset the camera behind you, and you can still jump back after getting knocked down, but this makes you really focus on dodging with X on the harder stages. L2 pairs you with nearby allies and activates Partner Strike, which I mentioned in the previous con. I am a big fan of mid-stage variety, so this is a great mechanic in my book, along with actually swapping characters and weapons in other Warriors games. R1 activates a special skill. Every character has a unique and personalized special skill, but Luffy has a multitude of different skills to use in battle. You can scroll through these skills with the left and right D-pad. It's a lot of fun playing as Luffy and switching up your skills mid-combat. R2 for most characters is a secondary special skill. I like that Luffy isn't the only character to get more than one special, but with Luffy, this is a grapple attack. You can also use this input to start exploring a lot of the stages throughout the story. You also have access to different Musou attacks. As you level up your characters, you'll earn more Musou bars. Similar to Dynasty Warriors 7 and 8, your Musou attacks are a flashy cinematic attack usually based on a special move from the anime. But taking a page from Ken's Rage, you can pull off different moves that will consume more Musou bars. When you unlock these Musous, you'll have to hold circle until the number of bars you want to use fills up. I think this is a great way to include multiple Musous in a game. The pros for the combat mechanics don't stop there, because combos aren't just pressing square until you want to press triangle to finish your combo. There are moves that can be pulled off by pressing a mixture of square and triangles in succession. Some of these moves are even a combo that's required for some allies to perform the partner strike. This mix of combos really makes Pirate Warriors stand out from other Musou games, but like in a good way, not like Dynasty Warriors 6's Renbu or 9's State Combo. We don't talk about those.
Con!
One thing that really disappoints me about Pirate Warriors is the fact that it's exclusive to the PS3. The 7th generation of consoles are well known for their performance issues as they broke their backs pushing the gaming industry into the HD world. A wide variety of games before this had a maximum resolution of 480p, and that's if they offered a progressive display. The PS3 and 360 were capable of outputting 1080p signals, and this caused a lot of performance issues. Some games even running better when the console is set to output only up to 720p. The thing is, I always found the PS3 to be the biggest offender of this. Games usually ran a bit better on the 360, this being one of the reasons I would pick Xbox over PlayStation when playing my Warriors games. But we are stuck playing Pirate Warriors here, and it does not perform well. The game caps out at 720p, which is fine, but it drops frames almost as much as the Switch does. You'll have some moments of decent 60 frames when there aren't any enemies or particle effects on screen, but the moment you have a group visible, the frame rate seems to really struggle to keep up. There were multiple times where I had performance issues and I thought my game was going to crash. I honestly think this is the worst performing Warriors game on the PS3. If it doesn't drop frames, it really slows down. What's more surprising is that many other Warriors games on this console had more enemies on screen. Pirate Warriors doesn't often have many troops visible. In fact, there were times where I was in an enemy base trying to take it over when I was about halfway through and couldn't find any more enemies to kill. There must be something in the background trying to limit enemy spawn rates so that the player doesn't experience worse frame rates and slowdown issues than we already have to. But I would have preferred to see them patch this game so we didn't have to deal with these issues, period. I will say, even though the game experiences some performance issues, I do like the way the game looks. Even though it's only outputting a 720p signal, which I do have upscaled to 1080p with my M Classic, you don't see as many jaggies as you would expect at this resolution. It must be the cell shading, because playing this game today, even though we are 2 generations beyond this, I still think this game looks good. Could the resolution be better? Absolutely. But this is really fine to look at. Not to mention how good the game looks when you jump into a cutscene. While playing through the story, I could rarely tell which cutscenes were in-game versus pre-rendered. The only way I could tell is if I had a different costume equipped, because that wouldn't carry over into the pre-rendered ones. Speaking of costumes, I like that Luffy gets a good variety of his outfits throughout the story. As you play through the different arcs, he changes the color of his vest and shorts. You'll be able to change into those costumes when replaying stages. By finishing the main story, as well as Zoro's and Sanji's story, you'll unlock their New World costumes, which made a brief appearance in the opening cutscene. The game only goes as far as the missions to rescue Ace, so it's nice to see some reference to the time skip. As well, there was one button that I didn't mention during the combat mechanics for the pros, and that was Select. Pressing this will trigger a taunt animation, but some characters will alter their outfits, like Luffy will put on his hat or Sanji will tighten his tie. These alterations will carry over into the Musou's and victory animations as well. Which brings me to another thing. We have victory animations. I love these in classic games and was so happy to see a slight return with Tokenrambu Warriors. But what I also like is the fact that we have entrance animations. These are 2 little things that for some reason seem to add a dash of quality to Warriors games. Finally, I need to praise this game's overall difficulty. Even though I played through the story on easy, I still had a bit of challenge with some of the bosses. I love it when a Warriors game gets its difficulty just right, and I would say that Pirate Warriors achieves that perfection. Normal definitely provides a decent challenge, even with a character who's well leveled, and longtime Warriors fans may want to keep it there. Personally, I like to breeze through my stories in Warriors titles and unlock all the characters, weapons, and whatever before taking on the real challenge of the game. There is a challenge mode here as well that really does test your abilities. I failed the first one with a decently leveled Luffy, so tackle these once you really have a handle of the controls and mechanics. It will really challenge your ability to dodge and avoid attacks, which I have a massive challenge playing defensively in any game. One complaint I have about a lot of modern Warriors games is the dub, or lack thereof. I know what we got with Dynasty Warriors 9 wasn't the greatest, but at least it was something. I also know that if they just hired randos to voice the cast of something as popular as One Piece, I would riot, because that would mean that I don't get to hear Christopher Sabat's smooth and lustrous voice as Zoro. Have you heard this man speak? His voice is like butter on a warm slice of bread. Having watched through a chunk of the anime, I would have loved to hear the Funimation cast reprise their roles. I guess it's not too surprising that an English dub wasn't included, considering other One Piece games are Japanese only. Even the latest One Piece Odyssey is Japanese only, even though they promoted it like it was going to be the perfect One Piece JRPG experience. I also complained previously that there was no 360 release, which was a major disappointment for me. Growing up, I didn't have a PS3. My dad and I did some research before buying the latest console at the time, and we decided to get the Xbox 360 because we both played games. This seemed to be a good mix for the two of us at the time, while giving us the best graphics we could want. This choice started off great because we got HD releases of Dynasty Warriors 5 Empires and Samurai Warriors 2 exclusively on 360. But that also meant that as the generation continued and more PS3 exclusive games started to come out, I would miss out on them. I ended up getting a PS3 while I was in college, but that did mean that I got this game pretty late in its life. Honestly, I don't think I got this game until I had already played Pirate Warriors 3. Not only that, the Vita had already been released before the first game's Japanese launch. I'm surprised they didn't try to put out a Vita port and capitalize on the handheld's abilities. This PS3 exclusivity not only impacted my ability to jump on the title quickly, but it also hurt me for extra content. This is because by the time I had got the first Pirate Warriors, the game was delisted from PSN, taking with it all the DLC. Since the game was released with a Japanese dub only during a time where Sony of America was only allowing physical copies of games dubbed in English on PS3, I'm playing using a physical European copy. But now I don't even have the option to buy the digital version to experience the DLC stages and costumes. My last complaint is something I've mentioned with another Warriors game in another Musou May review, so this may feel like I'm treading similar waters. But I also think talking up the combat and visuals of so many Warriors games is also treading similar waters, so who cares? Though the main story plays similar to that of Ken's Rage, the other log mode plays closer to that of Dynasty Warriors Gundam 3. There's various bases on the map with small corridors that connect them. I will admit that I don't find this as bad as Dynasty Warriors Gundam 3. You are more likely to find enemies in these small corridors, but it still doesn't give the same free-flowing battle experience that most Musou games would provide. I just feel like this could have been better by giving us stages more closely resembling Dynasty Warriors 6 with their bases and more open maps. It does feel weird to say that I wish a game would be more like Dynasty Warriors 6. Maybe let's never speak of this again. Also, why the hell are there save points mid-stage? This isn't the year 2000. Dynasty Warriors 2 was the only other game to have this instead of interim saves. I don't need to go back to that year. I've been actively avoiding any opportunity to hear Limp Bizkit, and I've been doing a pretty good job so far. In the end, One Piece Pirate Warriors was a fun experience and a decent way to jump into the world of One Piece. Thanks to this game and the others in the Pirate Warriors series, I've actually grown fond of an anime that I haven't watched much of. I mean, I say I haven't watched much, but I've actually watched enough to be a couple of seasons of a regular anime. I really want to catch up to the show, even though I still have over 900 episodes to watch. The new movie with Otto is also looking super good, and similar to every single Warriors spin-off so far, I find myself diving into a new obsession. With all that's been said about this first entry, I give One Piece Pirate Warriors a 6.5 out of 10. The game looks great thanks to the superb cell shading and stylization. It's a pretty well-known fact that Oda even declined the request to illustrate the game's box art because he thought the in-game models looked so good. That being said, the game does suffer from severe performance issues. The frame rate drops so hard when there's too many troops on screen. That being said, the combat mechanics are so good when compared to that of other Warriors games. I love the combos you can pull off by mixing up square and triangle. This is a big aspect that I think should be included in future Warriors titles besides the Pirate Warriors series. It's such a great addition to the usual Musou formula, and it feels like its own thing, while not stepping too far away from what is considered a Koei-developed Warriors game. I do think the performance issues I complained about would have been somewhat resolved by releasing a 360 port, or if they could, a PC port. That being said, I will admit that the first Pirate Warriors is serviceable on PS3. I also don't think we really need the first Pirate Warriors to be released on PC or modern consoles, because it does feel so limiting thanks to the small roster of only protagonists. With with Pirate Warriors 2 and onward, we would see them add more and more to the games, whether it's modes, stages, characters, etc. Just like every other first in an anime IP Warriors spin-off, we can only go up from here. Though it was a fun time, just like my sentiment with the first Dynasty Warriors Gundam, I don't foresee myself going back to this game with the exception of trying to get all of the trophies, which may not even be possible because there are medals tied to online play. But I'm not disappointed in my time spent with this game, which is why I gave the game the score that I did. I do think there are better Warriors games out there, and there are definitely better Pirate Warriors as well. And I'm excited to jump into the others and really comb through everything they have to offer. Anyways, everybody, thank you so much for watching my review of One Piece Pirate Warriors. If you enjoyed it, give it a like and subscribe for more. Also, who's your favorite One Piece character? Let me know in the comments below. And if you'd like to help support the channel and what I do here, you can join the guild just like these awesome people that you're seeing on screen right now. You can join their names at the end of every single video for just $1 a month over on Patreon, or you can donate in a one-time fashion and join the volunteer unit over on Coffee. There are other rewards and other tiers as well, so check out the links that you see on screen, and I will see you all down in the comments.